New Chargers offensive coordinator Mike McDaniel had some of the fastest skill position players in the league in his time in Miami, and the good news for him is this is like the fastest we've ever seen players at the NFL Scouting Combine.
You are Locked On Chargers, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Chargers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, and welcome into the Locked On Chargers podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Wade, joined as always by my co-host, David Droegmeier, and we've been covering the Chargers now for 10 seasons, but this is our 8th year as a host of the Locked On Chargers podcast, bringing you your team every day as part of the #1 sports podcast network. And David, today, we're talking about speed.
Do you have the need for speed? Well, the NFL Scouting Combine was providing it in spades.
Man, watching the numbers that were coming across the scroll for this NFL Scouting Combine this year, you're wondering if there was something wrong with the lasers, because so many burners, so many guys just putting up ridiculous numbers. And like even outside of the individual players, it was just as a group, this was like the fastest combine that we've ever seen in many positions, which means, hey, if the Chargers feel like they need speed for Mike McDaniel's offense, they can find it in here. And there's a ton of speed in this upcoming draft class. And David, we know that Mike McDaniel is going to be making this offense around, what the Chargers have right now, but he's also going to be making around what they add to this, right? And also is going to have major input on who and what attributes they're looking for when they try to bring these guys in. And I think when you're talking about a guy who just had Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle on his team, with Devon Achane in the backfield running low 4.3s, right? You have to wonder, hey, does Mike McDaniel think that they need some more speed, and will he be trying to bring some in out of this draft class?
Yeah, I mean, it sure seems like it, right? It seems like that's how he likes to build his offenses. Like that, those are the type of players that he needs to be able to run the offense that he has ran to great effectiveness, to unbelievable success a couple of years ago, running one of the top offenses in the NFL with Tua Tagovailoa as his quarterback.
Yeah, in 2023, ended up having the leading the league in passing yards. Jaylen Waddle and Tyreek Hill both go over 1,000, right? I mean, both of those guys, like that's as much speed as you could possibly pretty much have on an offense.
No question about it. And so if I'm Mike McDaniel and I'm looking up and down these position groups and seeing the unbelievable speed that these guys are bringing to the table, I'm probably salivating a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think another thing, that Mike McDaniel said that's super important, because he was asked specifically about this when he first had his opening press conference, was, yes, I like speed a lot, and we're always going to be trying to add that, basically, in less words, but I like when a receiver's second best ability is their speed, right? And it has a lot more to do with being really, really good at something and also being very fast. So that is the other thing too, because it's like there's years past, David, where you almost see a 4.3 next to somebody's name, and it's almost like a turnoff in a way, because you're just like, man, there's so few of these guys, these low 4.3 guys, these 4.2 guys specifically, that end up being something really good. But then you look at it and it's like, this is from NBC Sports. The average 40-yard dash times are faster in 7 of the 8 position groups, with blazing 40 times becoming the norm. DBs, 4.4 seconds, the fastest ever. Wide receivers average 4.44 seconds, the fastest ever. Running backs average 4.45 seconds, the fastest ever. So whether he thinks they need more in the backfield, whether he thinks they need more at receiver, these guys were absolutely burning through everything and are literally setting record times.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the wide receivers. Brennan Thompson from Mississippi State ran a 4.26, which was the absolute fastest of any position player or anybody at the combine, period. Xavier Thomas, LSU, ran a 4.28. Deion Burks from Oklahoma ran a 4.30. Going to the running backs, Mike Washington Jr. of Arkansas ran a 4.33. Jeremiah Love, one of the top running backs in the draft from Notre Dame, ran a 4.36. Demond Claiborne from Wake Forest ran a 4.37. I mean, there is speed everywhere. And I think to me, Daniel, one of the most impressive feats of speed is what we saw out of the tight end position with Kenyon Sadiq running an unbelievable 4.39. And just to put it in perspective, The next closest guy to him was RJ Maryland from SMU, who ran a 4.51. So just not even close, just shattering first place, and nobody even getting close to his totals. Just unbelievably impressive from Kenyon Sadiq.
Yeah, and we saw a lot of comments when we did the Kenyon Sadiq show with Daniel Jeremiah mocking him to the Chargers in his mock draft 2.0. Like, hey, the Chargers obviously have other needs, and we'll see how many of those they can address. But if you're talking about taking the best player available, very easy to see why Daniel Jeremiah would say, hey, tight ends sometimes can slip in the draft. I don't think we're going to see it as much now, with not just the success of Brock Bowers, who had a ridiculously strong rookie year, historic rookie year, but then you also have guys like Tyler Warren, who jump off the page last year, and Colston Loveland, who was great last year, and Rondé Gadsden and Harold Fannin, right? Tight ends are very valuable, but to see somebody that looks like Kenyon Sadiq running a 4.39 at tight end, as a guy who, has a pretty violent play style too, and isn't afraid to kind of get his nose in it, like, that's crazy. But like, up and down the draft, the Chargers are going to be able to find speed here, and that is the point, right? It doesn't mean that they had to spend a first round pick or a second round pick to get a fast guy. But more importantly is, if you're getting a fast guy, make sure that's the second best thing that he does, because there's plenty of fast guys that don't work out, and I don't want them burning draft picks, speed for speed's sake. So
yeah, we don't need another Tevin Reese.
You don't need guys just because they're fast. But also, what if I told you the Chargers have 4.3 receivers already on their roster? Do the Chargers actually need the speed? That is the question that I have. So we're going to talk about that and more in today's Locked On Chargers podcast. First, I need to tell you that this episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. March is a time to celebrate women, especially around International Women's Day, and to just recognize how much they carry at work, in relationships, and families, and in all the unseen roles they step into every single day. It's easy to celebrate that strength, but it's also just as important to make space for their emotional well-being. And honestly, that goes for all of us. And I think the person I think of most here is my mom. And one of the things that therapy has helped me with is finding ways to show my mom how grateful I am for everything she does, not just as my mom, but also as Grammy, which is the other role she plays now and is excellent at it. But it's hard for me because I want to monetarily thank my mom, which isn't what she really wants. She just wants to be seen and appreciated in that way. And I try to do that as best as I can. And therapy is something that has really helped me with that. But with over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 6 million people served worldwide, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, and it works. Fill out a short questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist, and if it's not the right fit, you can switch at any time. Your emotional well-being matters. Find support and feel lighter in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's betterhelp.com/lockedon.
Hey, it's Matt Derry from the Locked On Lions podcast. The people I love depend on me. If I'm gone, the financial responsibilities don't disappear. I didn't want my family figuring things out during the hardest moment of their lives. That's why I knew only one place to go. I chose life insurance through my friends at Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. I love the folks at Ethos. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get the free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. That is ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Application times and rates may vary.
David, this was a historically fast draft, and obviously, I think just generally speaking, you need to have speed in today's NFL, and I think especially with Mike McDaniel, having the ability to threaten people horizontally as well as vertically is going to be something that's very important. But I think going into this kind of thinking about how much the Chargers actually need speed made me wonder how much they do really need speed, because they do have some really fast players on this roster, pretty much all added to this team over the last couple of seasons as they've gotten away from, the big contracts of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams in those times, and even guys like Josh Palmer, who wasn't a speedster. Basically since like Jalen Guyton, they haven't really had that field stretching 4.3 speed type of player. But man, they have some fast guys, right? Like you look, and I said it, they have 3 different receivers who ran in the 4.3s. You have Ladd McConkey, who just squeaked in there at 4.39. We know like what his speed is, and hopefully how Greg Roman kind of held him back. Mike McDaniel will actually be able to magnify his speed, right, and showcase it a little bit more. But you also have KeAndre Lambert-Smith, who ran a 4.37, and you have Derius Davis, who ran a 4.36. That's 3 different dudes who all run in the 4.3s. Now, I think the hard thing here is KeAndre Lambert-Smith and Derius Davis combined for 7 catches. So they have a lot of speed. I think it's just how much can they actually use that speed to effectiveness in 2026.
And I think that's what's so exciting about Mike McDaniel coming in as the offensive coordinator is knowing that he already knows what to do with speed. He has been able to highlight it. He's been able to put them in the positions to really have a lot of success, not just vertically down the field, but as you mentioned, horizontally, just getting the ball in their hands quickly, letting them use that speed, that quickness, that stop-start ability to get yards after catch, to keep the ball moving down the field, to keep the chains moving, to protect your quarterback. It does so many different things when you have speed. Speed is something that you always have to contend with no matter what. So if you have it, it is a real weapon. And not only is it a real weapon, but it's not as powerful in the hands of other people as it is in the hands of Mike McDaniel, because he's already shown that he can use speed, and speed kills in the right hands. He has the right hands.
You have to hope so. And I think the other thing too is it's like you've seen plenty of kind of Shanahan offense or derivatives of that haven't had like super burner guys, right? Like even, at the top of their game, like the 49ers had guys like Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel and guys like that weren't like super fast 4.2, 4.3, low 4.3 guys, right? But we do know, obviously, when you have a Devon Achane and a Tyreek Hill and a Jaylen Waddle, and that's your only experience as a head coach, that's going to be kind of the theme everyone thinks you're going to want. Now, I've said it in the past, I think that was to kind of overcompensate for the lack of arm strength for Tua Tagovailoa, or just
Definitely
the gifts that he didn't have, and then just needing to have to do a lot of it after the catch. But even at running back, like Devon Achane with low 4.3 guys, even this year where, the running backs had their highest average that they've had, there was only 3 guys that were in the 4.3s. There's not a ton of those dudes out there, right? And even more, I think, than wide receiver. It takes a lot more than just being fast at the running back position. Only 5 guys were even faster than what Omarion Hampton was last year, David. And I think that's the other thing here, where it's just like, Omarion Hampton's a 4.46 guy. Kamani Vidal, another 4.46 guy. Both of those guys had breakaway touchdowns. Now, I do think the Chargers will try to bring in a running back who complements those 2 backs that they currently have, assuming they bring Vidal back. But they have plenty of speed in that room, too, where it's like, hey, I'm not, super concerned about the speed they have there.
No, I'm not either. And I think, the scary part about it with Omarion is he's built like a block of granite. Like the dude is chiseled from head to toe. And so to have that type of physique and to have that type of body type and have that speed combination, that's what makes it so rare, which is why he was the guy that was really hard to tackle, and that he was able to, make some things happen in between the tackles. But we all saw when he was at his most effective, which is when he was attacking the edges of the defense, when he just got that slight crease, when he was able to just get that daylight, he was able to hit it and really take off. And I think under Mike McDaniel, that's going to happen a whole lot more. They're going to get the ball in his hands a lot more in ways that are going to benefit what he does best for the Chargers. And there's a lot of speed there. And I do think Kaimani has that breakaway speed as well. He showed it, and I think that's going to be a nice 1-2 punch compliment. But I want to see how they're going to add to the room, what type of profile they're going to be looking to add to the room. But it's probably going to be somebody who's got some burners.
Yeah, and I think that it very well could. And it could also just be someone who might not be a 4.3 guy, but might just be a more pass game specialist type of player, right? Just the ability to be great in space, because, like, look at Bucky Irving, man. Like, he wasn't great last year, but obviously set the world on fire as a rookie. That dude ran like a 4.7. Like, 40 times aren't everything, right? Like, Mike McDaniel, I think, cares a lot about elusiveness and things of that nature as well, but I don't think speed is holding them back in their own running back room. At tight end, you have Rondé Gadsden, who's plenty athletic to, be a mismatch type of player. He ended up running a 4.65 at the combine, which is very, very good for a tight end. I believe 87th percentile of all time at tight end. And the average for tight ends at this combine was 4.63. So an outlier draft for sure. Making a Rondé Gadsden look slow is something for definitely. But I think at the same time, the Chargers are going to be less concerned about speed at the tight end position and more worried about someone who can complement a Rondé Gadsden. I still think they'll look for, less of a Will Dissly, more of an athletic type of blocker. At the same time, I think that blocking part of it's going to be much higher on their priority list than finding someone who's, unless it's Kenyon Sadiq running at 4.39, but then someone who's running, in the 4.5s or the low 4.6s. But that's going to wrap things up for today's bonus episode. Make sure you're back here tomorrow for more free agency frenzy. To make sure you don't miss it, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from. I also will be on the Squad Show coming out live later on today, hopefully with Kenyon Barner, as well as the other Squad Show guys. So make sure you're back here for that. And also we'll have Daniel Popper on the show later this week. So subscribe, follow all of our social media at Locked On LAC, at Locked On Chargers on Instagram, at Locked On LAC on Twitter, at Locked On Chargers on Instagram, and our Locked On Chargers Facebook page. Make sure you have your notifications on because we have a bunch of big shows coming up as we get closer to free agency. But that's going to wrap things up for today's show. We'll be back to you tomorrow. Until then, take it easy and go Bolts.